Hey folks, Will's here, welcome back to another Poem Mouse video, and at the end of this month, well, it's not exactly the end, but we basically have all the new expanded synchrons that are coming this month already out, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to evaluate these units and you know, just give some suggestions in terms of where you want to prioritize using your sync orbs on, right? Because do bear in mind that for next week, we are getting Steven's Banner's well, actually in a few days, 3 days or so, right? Steven's Banner rerun and the Seal Type Training event, which both of these do not have anything, any new expanded synchrons, right? So Berg's the last one for this month. So again, that's why we're going over this now. So again, like I mentioned before, these are just suggestions. You don't have to like follow it to a T. It depends on what your situation is, what your units, what units you have, what you know, what kind of events you're trying to beat, right? And what units you already gridded, and all that stuff, your situation, how many orbs you have, right? So, anyways, let's get into this then. Again, this isn't, ranking how powerful these units are, right? Let's start in this really random order of, I don't know, right? So, let's start off with Kingdra. So, Kingdra, we'll put it in D tier. Kingdra is very powerful. Kingdra, has a very, very high ceiling in terms of its damage ceiling, right? Downside is you just really won't run it over Haxorus, right? In a lot of situations. Again, in any single stage, right? Kings are very, very powerful, but in Villa, usually you probably want to use Haxorus over Kingdra, right? But in stuff like Legendary Arena, if you want to use Dragon type for some reason, in the future, if there's any Dragon type Legendary Arena, maybe you could use Kingdra, although Kingdra is weak to Dragon, which does have that downside as well, even though it has Dragon Guard. Dragon Guard doesn't really help it that much, unfortunately. But anyways, we're putting Kingdra in D tier. So, moving on. Houndoom. Houndoom, will put it in C. Houndoom is very, very powerful, right? Does a lot of damage. But again, as usual, I do rank these. I put more. Again, this is just personal, right? Thing. I do put more weight into support / tanks, healers than I do strikers generally, because you could be, you could be whatever. You could be the Villa with any striker, honestly, right? I saw people do with Wulfric, which is kind of doo-doo for the Villa, but as long as you have the good, right supports, tanks, you could beat with Wulfric, right? So, again, Houndoom is very powerful. The reason why I don't rank Houndoom higher is, although Houndoom does a lot of damage, Houndoom is slightly tricky to set up, right? Because it really depends on what other supports that you could give. Well, not supports, tech units that you could give Houndoom to trigger both dirty fighting and foul fighting, right? So that is a slight issue with Houndoom. Just it's a setup thing, right? Moving on to Haxorus. Haxorus will put it in B. Well, Haxorus, it depends, right? If you have Lesson Confusion, I'd say anything above 5 should be fine, right? If you have Lesson Confusion 6, 7, 8, 9 Haxorus, then I put it in B, right? Because and 3 out of 5, right? 3 out of 5 Lesser Confusion Haxorus, I'd put it up here just because Haxorus just does insane amounts of damage. Just one of the best strikers for Villa. It's just it's almost like it's made for Villa, right? It has Carry On, so it doesn't need to use any MP to increase its attack every time a unit faints on the field. It could be yours or your opponent's. Most time you want it to be your opponent's, right? You get damage boost from that, and then you get 2 move gauge refreshes on Outrage. Move gauge, and these are MGR 3s, not MGR. A lot of units that have multiple MGRs, they have it at MGR 2. But these are both MGR 3s, so that's great for Haxorus. And also you get Outrage Confusion Boon 5. So again, with Lesson Confusion, your Outrage, you won't hit yourself in Confusion, and you get extra 50% damage buff on your Confusion. So Haxorus is just insanely strong, right? Moving on to Alexam. This is probably our first S tier unit. I say S tier, but it's just highest priority, something like that, right? Alexam is probably has an argument to be the best unit in the game. There's a few units up there, and Alexam definitely has a spot in there. Alexam just does so much, right? Alexam has MP refresh on 6th Sense, which 6th Sense increases your special attacks by 3, increases your accuracy, and heals you 40%, right? So it's basically a potion that drastically raises your special attack and your accuracy It's an insane, like, godly move, right? And it has an MP refresh, so there's that. You got Dire Hit All, Critical Squad, which turns your Dire Hit All basically into your Dire Hit All, Dire Hit plus All, right? Which again is also really powerful. Again, you also have NPR for that, right? Got Reflect, Pep Rally, which sharply raises your speed every time you use Reflect, and then you have NPR for Reflect as well, and then 2 MGRs on Psybeam, right? So there's that. Ability, nothing. You could make it into Striker, or, you know, it deals really good damage with Striker, right? As a Striker, Dire Hit, MP Refresh, like, and it's relatively tanky, you know, as well, right? Like, Alexander just does, like, everything for your team. Moving on, Pikachu, we were thinking about, like, S or A. The reason why I put Pikachu in A and why I decided to do that is Pikachu just gets outclassed by Swanna, right? Like, again, and this video is you know, like I mentioned before, this video is not on, you know, which unit is better. Even though I do think Swanna's better, right? But I don't think, like, the difference is, like, that huge. But if we are, you know, looking at which units to prioritize your sync orbs first, I'd prioritize them in Swanna first before Pikachu, right? Pikachu does have some really good upsides that Swanna doesn't have. One being, let's see, one being that you could pick up Thundershock, Move Gauge, Refresh, and pick up a hostile environment on your Thundershock as well, right? You could paralyze your opponent, which Swanna at 2 out of 5 right now, because everyone only has 2 out of 5 Swanna, you cannot do. But Swanna just has, like, so many upsides over Pikachu, right? First of all, Swanna's typing is good, right? Pikachu being electric type, weak to ground, is actually very bad, just because ground types tend to be AoE attacks, and Pikachu is Pikachu's not tanky, right? And Swanna is just very naturally tanky to begin with, and also has Take Flight with MP Refresh on Take Flight. Take Flight sharply raises your whole team's defenses and speed, which is, again, just insane, right? And then on top of that, you get your potion stuff. And the reason why, you know, Swanna, Pikachu, and to an extent Alexam are ranked this high is just because they have potion and MP Refresh on that, right, on heals. And that's why Pikachu is ranked all the way this high, and this is also why Swanna is in S tier as well in terms of that, right? Just absolute, just, like, healers are just insane in this game in general. Moving on, Glade. Glade, I'd probably put it in C tier as well, right? Glade just does so much damage. Like, it's pretty straightforward in terms of why, you know, you want to you know, use orbs on Glade. Like, dude, Crit Strike 1, ramming speed, you know, Focus Blast with, like, accuracy on that, or you don't need to use accuracy, you could just use this trainer move, which does have NPR as well, right? Where is it? Oh yeah, here I come, NPR, right? So there's that. Glade does need supports though, which is why I don't rank it as high as some of like Haxorus, right? Moving on, Leavanny, I'd probably also put it in this tier. Leavanny is like a Haxorus, but not as good as Haxorus, right? Leavanny, like, Haxorus does have crit. Haxorus does more damage. Haxorus just has a, like, higher cap on damage, right? But Leavanny, like Haxorus, is very sustainable, right? With, like, triple swag bag. Triple swag bag, you have a very good chance of increasing literally like almost like all your stats, right? Attack, special attack, defense, special defense, and I think speed, right? On your silver win, and then you got, like, 2 honor rolls, and then you have a passive honor roll, like 3 honor rolls and 3 swag bags. Like, this thing is really good, and, like, its sync rate is like really relatively inexpensive. Like, even though, like, you see all this stuff, like, you could like pick them all up without, like, any issue at all, right? You could, without any, like, energy issues. Like, it's really good in that sense. Moving on, Reuniclus, I'm probably gonna put it in B tier. Reuniclus is a solid striker, but more than that, like, Reuniclus is a really good tank as well. It's got Catalytic Cure, Healthy Healing, Natural Remedy on top of its passives, which is, like, Flame Proof, Antitoxin, you know, Escape Artist, right? You get up for traps, all that stuff. You got, like, some really good support stuff as well with Hidden Power Propulsion. You got Move Gauge boost stuff, Revenge boost. Like, this dude is insane, right? Sand Shelter, if you want to run it with Cynthia, right? Or you know, Cynthia, your Sandstorm team. Moving on to Infernip. Infernip, unfortunately, we're gonna put it in E tier. Don't get me wrong, Infernip has a really good grid. Infernip is very powerful when you grid it. It's just that Infernip gets outclassed by so many other, like, fire type strikers, right? It gets outclassed by Torkoal, outclassed by Charizard, Ho-Oh, whatever other billion, fire type units there are in the game, unfortunately. Actually, I think those are the only ones that actually class Infernape. But anyways, yeah, that's why we're putting Infernape down there. And also Infernape's grid is like mad expensive as well. First, I don't know why they did this to Infernape. Maybe because he was like the first unit out. They didn't want to go like too overboard with him. Like Critical Strike 1 on Infernape is like 12 energy, while Critical Strike 1 on Gallade is like 10. I don't know why they did that to Infernape. Anyways, moving on. Milotic, we're gonna put it in B tier, right? Milotic is a really good tank. That also does some good like damage as well. Like if you you could totally grid this into like a incredibly powerful water type striker. With super duper effective 2. Let's see, stationary target 3, right? A lot of other stuff, brine, power ups, right? And like I mentioned before, it's a really good tank as well. Got Revenge Boost 4, got Sterner Stuff to help with his physical side of its tankness. You got First Aid 4, right? Healthy Healing, like it's just really good as a tank. Like it just heals so much, right? Moving on, Heliolisk. Heliolisk is weird, right? And I'm probably gonna put it in. It's in between C and D, right? It really depends on what you want to use it with, right? If you're like using it with stuff like Mew, Rotom, it's insanely powerful. And if you're not using or Grimsley, right, or something like that, if you're not using it with those units, you could still use it. Like it's a very universal tech type unit. It's like that kind of unit that once you fill out your core 2 units on your team, and then you don't know what else to throw on your team, you can just throw in Helios and it will help your team. Like it will help your team no matter what. But it's just there isn't really very specific places where you can make him like extremely powerful, other than the ones I mentioned before, with Rotom and stuff, right? It's mainly because of the Mud Slap, 2 Mud Slap MP refreshes, and with Mud Slap, and also it does have Electro Web, slow opponent speed as well, all that stuff. Moving on, Raichu, unfortunately, I'm probably going to put it in the last tier. Even at 3 out of 5, Raichu is slightly disappointing. If you want an Electric type striker, just use Pikachu instead. Like, you're going to grid Pikachu anyways. Just use, Pikachu's grid. Pikachu's gridded. Oh, one thing I forgot about Pikachu. Pikachu actually does, good damage as well, right? With, let's see, Paralysis Synergy 5, right? You could do some really solid damage with Pikachu. Raichu is just, Raichu, it does okay damage, but, why would you use it? And Electric type's just not a good typing, to use offensively, right? Moving on, we got Vileplume. Vileplume I put it in D tier as well. Vileplume, really solid tech unit, right? We are getting tech candies soon, right? So that's something else to consider. Tech 3-star tech candy, right? It's a very expensive grid as well, but you get 3 energy ball move gauge refreshes again once we get that last dupe, right? Next week, 3 energy ball move gauge refreshes. You got X special defense MP refresh, stun spore, Flabbergast, stuff like that. Healing Sun if you want to run in a Sun team, generally really tanky, especially special defensively. Satisfy Snarl if you want that as well. And you could make it do some good damage like Paralysis Synergy, Confusion Synergy as well, right? Solar Flare if you want to do some damage to Sync Move, I don't know. It's just an overall, just good all-around solid unit. Next one, Dugong. I'm probably going to put it down here as well. Ice type's not a good typing as well, right? It's same thing with Raichu. And Dugong is very hard to use / set up. You need, you have Freeze Energy 16, which is insane amounts of damage. But Freeze is probably one of the weaker statuses, just because of even with no resistance, and again a lot of opponents will have freeze resistance, but even with those who don't, they just thaw out so quickly, right? And then it's very costly as well. This is 10 energy each, this is 7 energy each, and then you probably want to pick up Ice Beam, Move Gauge refresh as well, and then you just have nothing left for your Icy Wind stuff. It's just really hard to build Dugong, and again Dugong's not really useful, even if Dugong was better, right? So that's unfortunate. Moving on, Meowstic's similar situation to Vileplume, right? You could stun, all that stuff, stun, confuse, which is what Vileplume does. The trade-off here is, and Meowstic could heal himself, but the trade-off here mainly is Vileplume is slightly more tanky, and Meowstic is faster, right? Way faster. So it just depends on how you want to play that, right? Both of these don't guarantee confusion, by the way. Moving on, Charizard. Charizard, we could put it up in C tier, right? Charizard's like, think about, and this is things to red Charizard, right? Obviously, regular Charizard does not have a grid. But Charizard has some good stuff in its grid, right? Rejuvenate 6, I really love. If you want to run into some team, you could pull out this stuff as well. But the reason why Charizard is higher is just because like Charizard's really good without the grid anyways. It's just so like powerful without the grid that you really don't need to worry about the grid too much. Like I guess the MP refreshes are nice as well, but like you don't have like that much stuff to worry about. Moving on, Masquerain. Masquerain, I'm probably gonna put it in this tier as well. The trio over here, right? Masquerain is basically a Houndoom helper. For the most part, it decreases opponent's special attack, AoE, right? And it also traps opponents with infestation. So it's very, very helpful with Houndoom. But without Houndoom, it's still an okay-ish tank, but it loses a lot of its value, right? So there's that. Moving on. Mew. I was thinking about Mew as well, but I'm probably gonna put it in A tier. Just because like healers are like the reason, like S tier I just singled it out for like just like the top tier like healers in the game, which I do find the more valuable, right? In general, right? Healers in comparison to like tanks. So there's that. Mew is insanely good. Mew, you can do like so much stuff with this grid, right? Unfortunately, if guys, you know, don't have Mew, it's probably gonna take a while before it comes back, right? It's a limited time event at the time, right? But for those who somehow got Mew and just never gridded Mew, go grid Mew. It's really good. You got First Aid, right? Got First Aid, Shifty Striker, Agile Entry, all that stuff. You can make Sync Nuke builds with Inertia, Blind Spot, right? All that stuff. World of Dreams, MP Refresh is nice. First Aid, a Natural Remedy. It's really bulky, Swift, all that stuff. Swift at Move Gauge Refresh 3. So a lot of good stuff with the Mew as well. Moving on to Torkoal. Torkoal probably in B tier because like Torkoal just does like so much, right? Torkoal, you could run Torkoal as a tank, and also we are getting that that next 3-star attack cannon soon as well. But yeah, you could run Torkoal as a tank. You could run Torkoal, you know, in Sun if you want for some reason. You got Healing Sun, right? Or you could just run Torkoal as a main DPS unit, which does a lot of damage. You got like Critical Strike 5, Burn Synergy 5, Burn Synergy 5, a lot of Ember nodes, right? You can make your like 1 gauge Ember move like even powerful than like most 2 gauge moves in the game, right? Per hit. And with Critical Strike 5, Burn Synergy, all that stuff, you can make a 1 bar Ember hit harder than some 3 bar moves in the game, right? And you also have Ember MGR as well. All that stuff. Special attack MP refresh, 2 auto handle MP refresh. It's just insanely powerful, right? Again, main damage dealer, chip damage dealer that also tanks. Will-O-Wisp, burn, physical, opponents. So yeah. Moving on. Torterra. Torterra put in C tier. Torterra is a very, very good unit, and like Charizard, they're like really, really good units. But like their grid isn't like the craziest. But Torterra, don't get me wrong, does have some really good stuff in its grid, which is why it's that high. It has healthy healing, which is really powerful, and 2x defense all MP refreshes, even though it's MP refresh 2s. It's got 2 of them, so there's that as well. If you want to make a DPS build with Torterra, you could do that as well, right? So that's also possible. Sands of Time, if you want to run it in Sandstorm, I guess. You have Quick Cure, right? Depending on what you're facing, you could potentially use that as well. You got some options with it, just like overall you don't have like too much, right? But it's still, you could still run it, right? Razor Leaf, Move Gauge Refresh. Moving on, Gliscopod. Gliscopod we're probably gonna put in B. Gliscopod is just insanely powerful, right? As a striker, like not only is it really good offensively with all these pin missile power-ups plus no quarter, right? It's also really good defensively. It's got vigilance if you want to pick that up, right? First aid. It's just really, really good as a unit. And you could also run it as like a burst in first impression build just for farming, because that, like, you know, farming a lot of like stages, this helps immensely, right? Moving on, let's see, Starmie, I put it in A tier as well. I could potentially see Starmie in S as well, but like a few things that do keep me back from putting like Starmie in S, because Starmie doesn't really have like its like third you know, third or I guess second dupe yet, which would unlock like Ridicure for Starmie. You can make Starmie into a really good striker, like super duper effective 5, right? I wouldn't say really good, you know, decent striker, right? What else? Oh, catch if you can friendly here, which heals them before you heal them, right? Like Starmie just becomes like just busted at 3 out of 5, but like 2 out of 5, it's still really, really good. It just doesn't have too much, but it has the basics, right? Honestly, all you need is just catch if you can MP refresh, and you're good, and you get that, right? Again, just in terms of priority, right? It's like not a big deal just because like its grid isn't like something you don't have to like you don't have to pick everything up in the grid. Pick up, you know, catch if you can MP refresh, and if you want the X special defense all MP refresh, you probably should pick that up, honestly. Like maybe Bubble Beam, and then like there you go, right? Some other extra stuff, agile entry, all that. I'm not gonna go through like a whole build for Starmie, but Starmie really, really good. Sharpedo, I'm gonna put it in D tier, not because Sharpedo is a bad unit. A lot of people meme on Sharpedo, ah ha ha ha, you know, it takes 90% of its HP out, very funny. But Sharpedo is actually incredibly powerful as a striker. However, the sync grid isn't like that great. Like Sharpedo's like red in a sense, right? It's super powerful without a sync grid. With the sync grid, obviously it gets, you know, much better. You get stuff like liquidation on a roll, liquidation, you know, power ups, all that stuff. Head start, which is nice as well, right? You can make multiple builds with it. You can make a sync nuke build with inertia, all the sync nodes, right? You can make a waterfall aggravation set, move gauge refresh, shifty striker if you want that as well, right? You can play with sink or swim and pick up power reserve, pressure cooker 4 if you want. Like it's good, but it's not like, you know, the unit's good, sync grid again, like Charizard unit's good, sync grid's not, you know, the craziest. Moving on, Salazar, probably gonna put it in D as well. Salazar is a decent striker. It's not like anything crazy as a striker, right? You know, I would say it's probably one of the weaker strikers with a grid, right? But however, Salazar could be used as a really, really strong tech unit because you have Smog, which poisons. You have move gauge refresh on that. It's a 1 gauge move. You got an MGR 4 on a 1 gauge move, and you also have Smog staggering, which has a 50% chance to flinch the opponent as well as poisoning them. So that's really good, right? And then again, like I mentioned before, you know, Slug, you could also do Sludge Wave stuff as well. Oh, accuracy for Smog as well, so it doesn't miss. So Salazar's a good option there as well. Same Metagross, probably gonna put it in B. Same Metagross is insanely strong, as all these units are right up here. Recuperation, you could heal after sync moves, especially good for Balvilla. Aggravation on your Iron Head, move gauge regen. Again, these are like standard stuff, but they're really good, even though they're like really standard. You know, some other stuff that you could pick up. If you want best there is MP refresh, you could do that. If you're, you know, just running something really short. X attack, there's that as well. Oh, Haymaker, forgot about that. Haymaker, you could make Steven Sync Nuke, which does good amounts of damage as well. Eagle Eye if you want to raise your crit, although it's not as relevant as it was when it first came out, right? But still something you could go for if you want. Moving on, Rotom probably going to put it in A tier as well. Same thing with Mew. Like Rotom and Mew, these are probably two of like the best just like I guess standard tanks in the game, right? They really don't need to do much. Like they're really like no-brainer tanks, right? And Rotom, aside from tanking, which it does very, very well, right? It also gives you breathtaking MP refresh, and then also I think 2, right? X special attack all MP refreshes, MP refresh 2s, and then a 1 star move gauge refresh on Thundershock, and then hostile environment on Thundershock. Like it's insanely good. Ridicure too, heals when you dodge, and your evasiveness, you know, increases every turn, right? So agile entry if you want. Like Rotom is insanely powerful. It just does so much, right? It just does so much. Moving on, Serperior. Superior, I was debating if I'd put it over here or here. I think I eventually went for here. Because like Superior, if you look at Superior in comparison to Reuniclus, right, they're actually pretty comparable. Because like basically what you're trying to get in Superior is move gauge refresh on time to energize, which boosts your move gauge, or not move gauge refresh, MP refresh on time to energize, that boosts your move gauge. And then you want the X special attack MP refreshes, right? Obviously there's more stuff, that's not all to it. You got energy ball on a roll, right? All that stuff, but those are like the main stuff that you want on Superior's grid. And to tank, right? But if you look at Reuniclus, they're actually relatively similar, right? Because like you have hidden power hype up, small chance of rating special attack of all allied sync pairs when Pokemon uses of move, right? Which is what, 20% chance. So you can still raise everyone. Obviously it's not as good as X special attack all, but Reuniclus does tank better with, again, healthy healing, catalytic cure, and then you also got other stuff, hidden power, propulsion, right, as well. And then you got like move gauge boost, move gauge refresh 9, you got MPR, which again is not as good as Superior's, but like you do like other stuff better than Superior, right? You do damage, right? For Reuniclus, revenge boost as well helps your move gauge. So I do find Reuniclus and Superior very similar in that sense. That's why I'm probably going to put them in the same tier over here. Or I guess same priority, right? Oh, by the way, this is not ordered. This is not ordered. They're not ordered within the tiers, right? It just depends on what you personally need. Moving on to Liepard. Liepard, probably going to put it in D. Liepard's a good tank, right? I would probably move it higher if you had the, I think, was it Stoic or something? The one that prevents your defenses from decreasing, right? But yeah, it's a really solid tank. It has heals, it has evasion, right? It's just an overall good tank, which also could do some good damage on your sync move as well. So that's why it's Liepard's over there. Garchomp is in B. And Garchomp is insanely powerful, right? One of the hardest hitters in the game in general. You got Surging Sand 3, which there's that, ramming speed, earthquake, hits like a truck. Soothing Sand, Sand Screen, Reverse, Sands of Time. Like, you just do so much with Garchomp, right? That's why I'm putting it up there. And moving on, we got some special cases. Both Steelix and Acerola are very, very good with Garchomp, right? Like, for Acerola, like, once you grid Garchomp, you kind of have to grid Acerola, right? Because they go together, right? But, like, if you don't have Garchomp, like, Acerola by itself is actually not bad. Like, some people might say, oh, you know, it's pointless. But it's not actually pointless because, like, Acerola, you still have Astonish Aggravation, and if you're wondering, okay, so what? There's other flinch users you can use. Well, Astonish has the best chance to flinch. It is what it is, right? With Aggravation, it's really, really good. Also, it's a 1 gauge move, right? So that as well. So it's just overall really, really good, even without Garchomp. But without Garchomp, I'd probably put it at a lower priority, somewhere around D, right? But with Garchomp, you definitely want to grid it as soon as possible. At least get the, you know, the Sandstorm nodes, right? These 3 are the main ones. Oh, Sand Shelter as well. You don't want to die from that. Soothing Sand. But yeah, Astonish Aggravation is cherry on top, right? Moving on, again, like I mentioned, Steelix, with Garchomp, it's very, very good, right? Without Garchomp, it's still good, but like its grid just doesn't give you as much, Steelix, right? Because here's a few things in Steelix's grid, right, that works with Garchomp, doesn't really work with other units. Soothing Sand, Sand Shelter works with Garchomp, and also Recuperation and Rejuvenate. And the reason why I say these two work with Garchomp, even though it has nothing to do with Sand, is because when you're using this with Garchomp, you will be syncing with Steelix, right? That means you could get HP back, you could, you know, get move gauge back. You use this with Garchomp. You don't exactly use this with a lot of other strikes. You could. Really, again, it depends on circumstances. But some other times you probably would want to use your Striker's sync move instead, right? But like in the case with Garchomp, you don't want to use Garchomp's sync move after the first sync move, right? You want to use Steelix here, which gives Steelix more value. But like overall, without Garchomp, it still has some other stuff. X defense, MPR, Clang MPR, Gyro Ball. Again, it's just very, very basic stuff. It's like not as big of a deal. Like without Garchomp, I'd probably put it like at probably C instead, right? Moving on, Barry it depends on what you're trying to do. I'll put an E here. But if you are having trouble with the legendary arena, right, make this a priority, because the legendary, it's a limited time. If you really have trouble with that, you know, work on your berry. Probably won't put that high, but you know, work on your berry. But if you don't have trouble with it, it doesn't have much else to do, right, outside that. Lucario also situational, right? If you don't have Glade, probably put Lucario in here. Lucario is actually different from Glade, right? Lucario is a bit more sustainable. Glade has a higher cap. But if you already have Glade, then I'd probably put it at a slightly lower priority. But again, it's still really, really good, Lucario, right? Also depends on what lucky skill you have you know, on Lucario as well. So that's me for this one, I guess. I was just about to say a quick, but it's like 30 minutes. But you know, just some suggestions in terms of you know, which units you want to prioritize using your sync orbs on in general, right? So yeah, again, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know, guys, think in the comments down below. Like, enjoy this video, so I'm channel for some more Power Masters content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.